Have you ever had a situation where you met someone on Tinder and it was a ladyboy and you didn't know?
Oh yeah, especially when I first came to Thailand. Oh man, all the time.
So what did you do? What happened?
So she'll come here and I'll be like, I'll take the photo of her Tinder profile picture. I'm like, sorry.
You put it in her face and you're like, yo, this ain't you. What is up, guys, and welcome back to the One Night in Bangkok podcast. If you're new here, my name is Eric. I've been living here in Thailand for 5 years now. If you're visiting Thailand or if you're thinking about moving here, hit the subscribe button. We've got so many cool people coming on, and I don't want you to miss anything. Also, we've got a private Facebook group down below. If you want to find out more about living here, setting up a bank account, getting an apartment, any questions, if you want tips on where to go, what to do, check out the Facebook group down below. Also, I recently started posting clips on Instagram. If you want to see all of that and some behind the scenes stuff, you can check that out down below. Instagram has just been taking off this month since I started posting on there. So go ahead and check that one out. And lastly, if you love listening like in your car or while you're working, we're actually on Apple and Spotify podcasts as well. So subscribe on there and let's get started. Paul, my brother from another American mother.
Exactly.
How did you end up in Thailand? Tell us who you are, where you're from, and how you ended up in this amazing country.
Yeah, so my name is Paul. I've lived here in Thailand for the past 3 years, and I'm from America as well. And I just came here as a vacation first, and I was like, I could get used to this. And I was actually dealing with some like depression, and I was going through this whole like existential crisis in America. And then I came here. It all of a sudden disappeared, and then I just kind of stayed here, and that's what happened.
It is weird how that happens. I'm not sure if Nana Plaza had anything to do with curing that depression. No, I'm just kidding. That's what everybody thinks. That's what everybody thinks. That's like the stereotype. But really, like when people ask you, maybe back in America, like why did you decide to go to Thailand? Like what is it about there that you like? What do you tell them?
I mean, I think people who've never been to Thailand, they have the impression that like Thailand is like a third world country, or there's like only ladyboys, or I'm only going there for like the red light district and everything. But they'd be super blown away by how actually modern it is, how good the culture is, how nice the people are. There's just so many different factors. Like for me in Thailand, I don't live like a crazy vacation mode. I have all of my psychological needs met here. I have all my physical needs met here. It checks all the boxes, and there's virtually no compromise here. No crime, no danger, no like really bad people. It is everything I want in a good society, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I know what you mean as also an American that came over here. But, I just had my friend visit. He had never been here before. And his impression of Thailand was kind of exactly what you described. Like there's all the stereotypes. And once he got here, his eyes really opened to it, I think.
Yeah.
So you came here first on a holiday trip, but what made you decide to go to Thailand? Did you see it on Instagram or did someone tell you about it? How did you know to come here?
Yeah, so I was just kind of doing some research on where I could go to save money and then where I could go that would be in Asia. I was primarily interested in going to Asia. I was thinking about Vietnam, but it seemed a little bit like less developed, I guess. I was thinking about going to Korea because I am Korean, but I was a little bit hesitant just because I wouldn't know if I would like fit in as much because I was born in America, super Americanized. I feel like Koreans are maybe quite judgy, so I was kind of hesitant to actually live there. So I was like, where could I go to just be myself, just be truly free and live in an affordable place too that's also modern and developed? I was like, Thailand. Like Thailand checked all those boxes, right? So just came out here for a little vacation at first and then got super comfortable with it. And that's it. Yeah, I just decided never to leave. Yeah.
I totally get what you mean about the Korean thing, not fitting in. I think a lot of Asian cultures, they are very harsh to judge outsiders. I've been to Japan a little bit. I haven't been to Korea, but I've heard stories. But you being here in Thailand, you're American.
Yeah, 100%.
But a lot of people, like local people, when they see you, where do they think you're from?
They're pretty good at thinking I'm Korean or either Japanese, yeah.
And do you think they treat you differently when they think you're Japanese or Korean and then they realize you're American?
Are you talking about Thai people?
Yeah, Thai people.
No, not really. No. There's
Okay.
no sort of like change in behavior, like discrimination or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like for me, I get a lot of people tell me, "Oh, you don't look American."
Yeah.
And then I ask them, "What does American look like?" And they don't really have a good answer. It's basically what they see in movies, like Chris Hemsworth. That's what they
Yeah,
think. And
yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not Chris Hemsworth. But for you, I think it must be even harder because you're Asian American. So I think for some people here, maybe, tell me if I'm wrong, it's hard for them to compute that you're American. Like Eric, Minority Nomad, you know, he's African American, right?
Yeah.
You, me, and him are more similar than a Korean, an African, and, you know, whatever, a European.
Yeah.
But I think for Thai people, it can be hard for them to wrap their head around that because their society is very homogenous. But I'm just curious if you had any weird experiences with that, being Asian American.
Well, I guess it's kind of a weird thing when people ask me like where I'm from. So I'll switch between saying Phnom Kon Kaoli, like I'm Korean, and then I'll also say like Phomajak Pratet America. So I'm like I came from America. So because like whenever I just say I'm Korean, they're like, you don't really sound Korean, or you don't speak like a Korean or something. And then I'm like, yeah, I'll kind of explain like
But
that.
you were born in America, right?
100%, yeah.
Were your parents born in Korea or America?
Korea.
Okay, so you're first generation.
First generation.
So
yeah.
like I'm a little bit more removed, so I'm third. So
Okay.
it is kind of a weird thing with Americans, but anyway, I just wanted to point that out because that's kind of a interesting thing for
Yeah,
me.
it's like America's hugely diverse, right? So it's like there's not one depiction of like what Americans look like, because if you're born from America, you're 100% an American, you know? So it's like people might not have that automatic assumption that, oh, he looks American or he's American, you know?
Yeah. What do you think about how like Americans really don't know much about the world, and you know, especially over here in the East, like in Thailand? I get comments all the time, like on YouTube or Instagram with other people. They're like, "Oh, these Americans, they don't know anything." And we're like, "What do you think about that? Like, did you know much about Asia or?"
Yeah, so I have like two perspectives on this. First perspective is I think it's a trend lately to like kind of hate on Americans. Like if you look on social media, they're just like the number one comment is like typical Americans, or like Americans are the worst, or like Americans always start problems. Like I think it's like a trend to hate on Americans. But I also do acknowledge that there are a lot of ignorant Americans. And then my second perspective is that I don't think non-Americans realize how vastly huge America is. You know, it's like if you look at America in a geographical map, America covers the entire span of like most of Europe. You know, it's like it is unbelievably huge. To go from New York to California, that's like 8 hours, 10 hours.
Right.
But if I wanted to go to a different country in Asia, 3 hours, 4 hours, you know, it's like it's unbelievably huge. So the argument for Americans is that like you don't really even need to leave America to be well traveled. Like, because everywhere in America, all these different cities and countries, or
I know what you mean though, because America is so big. It has like different cultures within itself. Like New
Yeah.
York is very different than Texas, and that's
yeah.
very different than like, you know, Seattle.
Yeah.
So in Miami, so there's so many different places. Americans really don't have to leave to have like a vast amount of experiences. And, you know, there's two huge oceans between the US and a lot of other places it's just a bigger obstacle. So I can see why a lot of Americans don't know much about the world, especially when American media is constantly fed back to them. But it's cool that I think it's changing now. I think a lot more people are kind of learning more, whether it's from social media or whatever. But yeah, I think we'll see more Americans coming over, especially with all the chaos happening in the US right now.
While I do like a lot of things about America, I think some of the things I didn't like is how unlivable a lot of America is. Like you have to have a car, you have to drive places. You can't just walk 5 minutes, go to a cafe, drive 5 minutes, go to a mall, go to a 5-star hotel, go to a rooftop bar. You can't do all these things in the same day, you know, because you'll have to endure traffic, have to park. It's so unbelievably huge and kind of like unlivable in that sense, unwalkable in that sense. That's one thing I really liked about Bangkok in particular. I could step outside of my room, walk 5 minutes, eat some delicious street food, walk another 10 minutes, go to a huge luxury mall, hit up my friends, drive 5 minutes on the motorbike, it's like it's so approachable, so walkable. That's one of the biggest perks here, I think. And
Where are you from originally? Georgia?
yeah, I was born and raised from Georgia, and then I had moved to New York, and then I moved here.
Okay, New York City.
Yeah.
So that's interesting because Bangkok is a huge metropolis, similar to New York, like in size. What did you like about New York? What didn't you like about New York? Because I ask you that because so many people here, especially Thai people, they have this dream of going to New York City because they see it in movies, they see it in media. But in your opinion, like, what is it really like?
Yeah, I bought into that dream as well, like waking up to the big city, like feeling the energy and just feeling like I could achieve anything, like, but it quickly drained on me of how exhausted I was just trying to go up this ladder, just trying to make as much money as possible, just trying to like compete and feeling so much pressure and just and trying to make as much money as possible. Like I was just on this hamster wheel and I was already making good money, but it's just like in New York, especially in New York, you never feel like you have enough and you always want to rise to the top. And like I was becoming very consumerist, very like individualistic, very materialistic, like all these things that wasn't really me before I moved to New York. In New York, you have to be very like doggish. You have to be very concerned about yourself or like your dreams or your goals. You have to be super ambitious because it's such a high competitive city, and everybody around you is doing super well. So you're always like kind of comparing yourself to others as well. So that kind of exhausted me, like all my life I had strived to be successful and to be wealthy and to be, successful, right? And I actually had achieved some success in my 20s. And I was like, man, I finally made it. But I felt more unfulfilled than ever, having lived in New York City. Because at least when I was like broke before, I had a bunch of hope to move to this big city and to live this crazy lifestyle. But now that I quote unquote achieved success and I was there, I was like, wow, this was so purposeless. Like, what am I doing here? Like, and then I fell into some quick depression and stuff. Like, long story short, I felt like I had to leave New York City, but there was nowhere else in the United States I wanted to move to. Like, cause I already traveled a lot within the US. And I was like, why don't I just do a crazy spontaneous move and just move all the way by myself abroad? And then I moved to Thailand and I was like, man, I could start over here. Like, I don't have to impress other people. I could just be totally myself, do whatever I want, have total freedom, and still do the things that like give me happiness, such as like work or take care of myself, have good relationships, do all the things that were positive and good in New York City, and still have it here in Bangkok, still have the city life, still have the adventurousness, the crazy explorations, the relationships. I could have it all here in Thailand. Yeah.
What kind of work were you doing in the US?
Most of my work was in e-commerce, Shopify.
Okay, cool. And you had mentioned you took a holiday trip here. Was it for like a week, 2 weeks?
It was for like 3 months.
Oh, 3 months.
Yeah.
Okay. And you went home and then what happened? The depression set in?
No, not really depression, but like I went home, particularly from my sister's wedding. And then I was stuck in my New York City room with roommates. And I was just like, what am I doing here? Like, I don't have no obligations being here. I looked at my flights to Bangkok. I was like, let me go tomorrow. And then I literally went the next day. Yeah.
So you went back to the US and
Yeah.
then how many days did you book that flight?
Well, it wasn't like the next day. I went to my sister's wedding, spent some family time. It was in Virginia. Then I went back to New York City. And then, actually I got my story mixed up. I had went to Las Vegas to live with my friend for a while. I was thinking maybe I could live in Las Vegas, but I was like, that city was super degenerate. And then I went back to New York City and I questioned like, why am I here? Like, there's nowhere in America I want to live. So then I booked the next day flight. Yeah.
That's a really common situation. Like I came here for a month. I went back home. The first day I was back home, it's snowing. I said, I don't know how I'm going to get back there, but
yeah,
I booked a ticket and I just went a few weeks later.
Yeah. You were just like questioning why you have to be there. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't
I
compare.
think a lot of it is we're just taught, it's just culture. Like you have to do certain things. And when you kind of take a step out of that, you realize, no, you don't. You can do whatever you want. And I think that attitude here is the attitude, the culture here is much more accepting. If you want to come here, if you want to be an online entrepreneur, if you want to, be a yoga instructor, if you want to be a monk, okay, whatever makes you happy. But if you're in New York, I don't think I think people are much more judgy. They have much stronger expectations of what you should be doing. So you decided to move out here. Did you know anyone here?
I knew one friend. Yeah.
Okay.
But we're not even super close. It was just one person I could kind of rely on.
Foreigner or Thai?
Foreigner.
Okay. Yeah. And had he been living here like for a while before you and he said, oh, you should come out here?
Yeah, basically. Like I had hung out with him a couple times in New York and he was just telling me how awesome and relaxed it was here. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to take you up on that and I'm going to go. I'm going to see how it is. And then, I was convinced. Yeah.
How did you find your first apartment?
In Bangkok?
Yeah.
I was doing Airbnbs at the time. So I just booked like a week here, a week there, a month there. Yeah.
And did you have any idea where to live or how did you figure that out?
No, like everybody told me I had to live on Sukhumvit Road.
Yeah.
So I booked my first Airbnb in Bering. I'm not sure if you're familiar with.
That's far.
That's super far, yeah. But technically it's on the Sukhumvit Road.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had learned my mistake there.
It's but you know what? That's kind of cool because it's a more local area, I think.
Yeah. I was
but maybe not that easy if you don't speak Thai. I don't know.
Yeah, it didn't give me the expectations I was looking for, like the super like nice hotels or the malls or that kind of city life. It's very rural kind of area. But yeah, it was a nice different perspective on what I was used to.
Yeah. If someone was coming now and they were new, where would you tell them to live? Like what area?
I'd say Prompong or Asok is a good area to start as a foreigner to just kind of get a taste of kind of like in the middle of Bangkok. And then eventually you might kind of get tired of how busy it is there. Then you might want to move a little bit farther, maybe Ekamai or Thonglo or maybe Prakanong or something. But yeah, generally I think it's a good idea to get yourself right in the middle, like immerse yourself right in the middle of everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And the good thing about those areas, English is widespread, so that's not a problem. And
exactly.
The only problem is that like the cost of living, I think, is a bit higher there. Taxis, things like that. Even food, I think, can be higher because it's more of a foreigner area than like Bering.
Yeah, I think it has its pros and cons. Like if you're in those kinds of area, you're gonna be surrounded by a bunch of people who kind of look like you or came from the same background as you, so you're not gonna feel as alone, I guess. But then maybe later on you're gonna feel kind of overwhelmed just by how chaotic it is over there. My first condo was right in Asok and I loved it at first, but quickly just got tired of it. Yeah, it's
crazy over there. The traffic is crazy, the noise is crazy, but it's fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, it's a good start.
Yeah, like for me, I someone suggested that I check out Thonglo, which is where you live now.
Yeah,
and I actually think that's a great area. It's expensive, but it's a great area because it's kind of one step outside of that complete madness, but it's very close to everything downtown. So it's just one or two stops and you're in the middle of everything. And now we're in Ekamai. So
yeah,
right around there.
I'd say Ekamai and Thonglo are probably my favorite neighborhoods.
Yeah. It feels more like a neighborhood. It doesn't feel like a tourist district necessarily.
Exactly, yeah.
There's still foreigners around, but it's
it's a good blend of like Thai culture, foreigners, modern developments. It's just like a little bit of everything, and it doesn't feel too loud or too packed.
What was your plan as far as work, as far as living? Were you planning to come here for a certain amount of time? Did you have a plan?
No, I didn't have a plan at all. I was just like, I just wanted to enjoy myself, just enjoy life. I didn't have any plans at all. Like when I got here, I was single at the time and I was just like firing up the dating apps, just going on a bunch of dates, just like trying to meet some people. And then, going on a bunch of dates and stuff. They really showed me around Thailand. Like I got really familiar, like very fast with Thai culture and Thai food and how to use the transportation systems, like so much faster than if I were to have like foreigner friends and stuff.
That's actually a great tip. People aren't going to believe this, I think, in the comments, but if you go on Tinder here and you find a girl just to be friends with, it's probably the best move you can make. If you find like 3 of those girls, you're set, because not only will they teach you everything about Thailand and living in Bangkok, but you'll meet other people, you'll meet other girls, and it's a great way to kind of get started in a new city.
That's exactly what happened. Like no lie, like I felt like a stranger here at first. Then when I met these girls, they just showed me everything, showed me how to teach, showed me how to speak some Thai, and then showed me like the best restaurants. And yeah, and then I just kind of met all of her friends and had this little small circle going. And yeah, I just felt like I wasn't a tourist anymore. I was like, this actually could feel like a place where I could live long term.
But you must have thought to yourself when you got here, okay, I'm going to go for whatever, 6 months and see how it is, or I'm going to go and try to find a job, or you didn't just show up with no plan, did you?
Well, at the time I was doing quite financially well, so like I didn't necessarily have to work. And at that time I was just like super burnt out from working in New York all the time on my businesses and stuff. So I just kind of did a hard research. I just did like a hard reset and I didn't do any work at all. So yeah, no, actually I didn't have any plan at all. Like,
Okay, well, that makes sense. That makes sense.
yeah,
Then.
like my original idea was I'm gonna stay in Thailand for about 3 months and then probably go to Vietnam, go to Philippines, go to Korea, like just be this total digital nomad. But no, I just like Thailand so much I never really traveled outside until recently.
Yeah, having some savings, especially a good amount, is such a big game changer because it takes the pressure off. It lets you
Yes.
kind of just explore and figure things out. A lot of people come here with not enough money, or it goes faster than they read online they can live in Bangkok for like $1,000 a month, which, you can,
It's possible.
but it's not going to be enjoyable most likely. And then they just struggle and it turns into kind of like more of a problem than anything.
Yeah, yeah. I would definitely recommend like having some online income or at least maybe like 5,000 USD in savings, just kind of like a comfy like safety net. But yeah, eventually if you want to live out here for long term, definitely got to find a way to make money online or remotely.
Okay, so this question comes up all the time. For a Westerner, an American, European, what do you think a reasonable budget is to be here monthly?
So I'll just give you my budget, for example. I live quite a comfortable, like free lifestyle. I go out quite often. I have a girlfriend. I pay for all of her stuff. I have a dog also I take care of. So there's no restrictions on my kind of lifestyle and my budget. And I only spend 2,000 USD a month. And I feel like if I wanted to be more conservative, I could spend 1,500. So anywhere between that amount, you are very, very comfortable. If you want to be like a very budget traveler, you can spend like $1,000, but to be honest, with $1,000 budget, you're gonna have to live quite far from the main city, or you're gonna have to say no to a lot of things. Like if your foreigner friends want to eat some Western dinner or go out on night, drink some drinks, that's gonna cost like $100.
Yeah. What do you think? I want to see if we agree on this. What do you think the biggest expense here is for most Western guys?
Drinking or
Drinking.
going out, yeah.
Okay, I would say number one, girls. Can be girls.
So those can kind of be similar related
And
expenses.
number two, drinking. And they're closely related.
Very closely
At least
related.
for most people. And I don't mean like bar girls even. I'm not even talking about that. That's a whole other
Yeah.
thing. I mean like, and it's not the same for everyone, but if you have a girlfriend, if you want to go on dates, if you want to go to a nice restaurant, a Western restaurant here a Western restaurant is not really cheap here. It's similar to what it would be in America, depending, it's not like it's 100 baht to go out for dinner. It's going to cost, depending where you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you do that every week, if you do that a few times a week, it adds up.
Yeah.
So I think I might've seen on one of your videos, you didn't use this term, but I think some people call it lifestyle inflation. It's like you go to a place like Thailand, you're like, oh, it's so cheap to live here. So you start going out more, you get a nicer place, you're drinking more, you're buying more things. But now all of a sudden, even though it's baht, you're spending more than you would be in your home country.
Yeah.
You seem like a very logical, like thoughtful guy. How did you budget your money here? Do you use like an app or did you make a plan before you came?
I might not be the best guy to ask this, but I didn't budget my money at all.
Really?
Just, like,
Based on everything you've said so far, I thought for sure you had like a system.
no, because like my perspective on money is that like I always try to have an abundance mindset. Money's always going to come in, and I'm always going to make more money. So it's like I don't like the idea of restricting myself in terms of expenses, but I'll be conscious. If I'm like popping bottles like twice a night, twice a day, or like twice a weekend, right, back to back, then I'll be like, okay, this is kind of creeping up. But no, I'm not like hard nosed to events or like, I'll spend my money freely. But even though I spend my money freely, it never goes more than like 2,500. And 2,500 is a lot. Like I have to try to spend that much.
Yeah, well, but also it's all relative because I get what you're saying because I think we're on a similar plane, but some people will go through 2,500 in a weekend.
Oh,
If they
yeah.
go to Phuket, they stay at this hotel, they're at this nightclub, they're with this girl for dinner, you know. I actually use an app to budget every month. Just again, like you, not so it's like such a hard limit, but I just want to know what I'm spending money on.
Actually, what is the app?
I think it's just called spending.
Spending.
Maybe I'll put a screenshot in the.
And it connects and syncs with your Thai bank accounts.
No, I just enter it manually.
Oh,
Yeah,
see, that
because
would be too much
a lot
work
of stuff
for
is
me.
cash. Well, you get used to it. I never did it before until I moved here, and I really wanted to know what it really cost to live here. And so I just would keep track of. I didn't change anything. I just kept track of my expenses, and I break it down like apartment and utilities, like transportation, entertainment, restaurants, girls as a category, and that you laugh, but like even things like if you're out with your friends and because a lot of the people we meet, they don't necessarily come from the same means, and it's nice to cover them, especially if they're showing you around or they're you're having a night out. So and I don't mind that, but some months I look at that and I'm like, or girlfriend, and I'm like, oh, I spent a lot of money on this particular category last month, we have to cut that back next month.
Yeah, I
So-
mean, do you mind sharing how much you spend?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not like a hard limit or anything, but now like my budget's roughly 3,000 US a month.
Okay.
But the crazy thing is when I came here, the exchange rate was much different. So now I think today the baht is like 37 or 38 baht to $1.
Like 36.5-ish, I think.
Yeah, but it's a lot higher than it was a few years ago. And so that can be like a 20% difference. That's a big difference if you're living here like long term. So that's something to consider.
Yeah.
If you're living here long term and you get like a 6-month, 1-year contract on your apartment and the exchange rate is good, I would suggest you transfer a bunch of money in, and if you have a Thai bank account or if you can do this, and take advantage of that. Because if the rate changes, then it's like you just lost 20% of your money.
Yeah, that's something I probably should think about more too. Like whenever I open my Wise app, I look at the exchange rate. If it's a lot, I'll just try to do like as much as I can. But yeah, that's something to time. Be conscious of like trying to time that perfectly.
Yeah, you just mentioned Wise. So I have a Thai bank account. If you can get a Thai bank account, it's great, but it's not super easy to get unless you have a work permit or like a long-term visa. The next best thing, which you should probably have anyway, is this. What would you call it? It's like an online bank
It's like
account.
online money banking transferring system.
I want to compare it to PayPal, but I don't because I hate PayPal.
It's a lot better than
Wise is
PayPal.
better in every single way.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about a Wise account, it used to be called TransferWise, by the way. The cool thing about a Wise account is you can have like sub accounts in different currencies. So you can have a US dollar balance, a Thai baht balance, whatever. You can add whatever you want, and they even give you a debit card. So if you're coming here for like a few months or something, definitely get a Wise account.
Definitely. I mean, you absolutely need it, like especially if all your money's in like the US or UK or something, you need a way to like transfer that money over. And I haven't found another platform that can do it. I mean, or as easily, I guess, as TransferWise. Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy, and I think the exchange rate is good, especially like what you don't want to do is come here and withdraw like $100 at a time from the ATM.
Yeah.
Because you'll just get buried.
Yeah, that's a big foreigner mistake. I did that all the time. Like all those like ATM debit card fees just constantly add up. Yeah, TransferWise, that's the way to go.
Okay, so you came here, you got settled, you started to enjoy your life, probably for the first time in a while, coming from New York. When did you realize like, oh, this is going to be a long-term thing, longer than I maybe thought originally? Did something happen? Did you have a moment?
Yeah, so when I had my first girlfriend, Thai girlfriend here, I didn't have an intention to have a Thai girlfriend. She just had the intention of me becoming her boyfriend. Yeah, so that's kind of when I switched my mindset. I was like, I could stay here long term. I could be with this girl and kind of live like a happy lifestyle here in Thailand. But the relationship didn't work out. We dated for about 3 months or something. And then after that 3 months, like I said, I went back to the US. And even though I didn't have a girlfriend anymore, I was like, I miss like having a relationship with these Thai women. Like
Did you notice any difference dating Thai women versus American women?
oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the way they look, because let's be honest, that's an obvious point.
Say it to my face, huh? Why don't you say it to my face, you bitch?
As far as the dynamics of the relationship, the culture around it, something like that.
Yeah, so I don't want to be like too controversial here, and obviously it depends, but like I think Thai women are a lot more feminine, a lot more beautiful, a lot more playful, just like a lot less like westernized and like kind of masculine. Like for example, in America, you could say like something kind of like remotely controversial, and then they'll try to like make it such a big deal out of it or something. Like for example, in the United States, I would never mention something about Donald Trump or about politics or about like my opinion on a certain thing in risk that they would make a huge deal out of it. Or like I just feel like American women or like Western women, they could be a lot more on edge and a lot more like kind of masculine, whereas in Thailand it's just quite traditional. It's like, you know, it's like the man plays the role of being a provider and protector and being someone who's strong and you know, dominant, I guess. And then the woman is more so like more so submissive here. And Americans or like Westerners hearing this, they might think I'm like some sort of like misogynistic or patronizing guy who's trying to control women or something, like spin the whole narrative around. When in reality, it's just like a guy just wants to take care of a good woman and woman take good care of a good man. You know, it's just like receive and return. You know, but yeah, it's just like the women here are very refreshing, very like rejuvenating, very kind, very good-hearted, very light-hearted, very easy, just very easy to talk to, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like I've told this story a few times, but when I first came here, I knew that a lot of guys went to like Southeast Asia to find wives or something. Like I heard something about
Passport bros.
Well, this was before. 5 years ago, that wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
But like I heard about like older guys, like single guys, like they'd go to Thailand, and I didn't really get. I thought it had something to do with the way they looked. And yeah, okay, that's part of it. But it's what you just said. It's like the dynamics of the relationship are so much different here. And I remember when I went on a Tinder date, and the girl is like insisting that she's gonna pay.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, and that's happened to me several times. And I remember thinking like, I know this girl like salary is not anything, you know, substantial. So I don't know. It just says a lot. It's more the message of it.
Yeah.
Speaking of money, I'm here to ask you the controversial questions.
Actually, I wanted to add on top of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the first feeling of like, wow, this is so different here in Thailand with Thai women is when I would invite a Thai girl over and then she'd just start cleaning my entire place.
I had that exact same experience.
Yeah, it's like all my foreigner friends, the same experience. It's like,
Yeah.
I didn't ask you to do this, and I've never had this happen in my whole entire life, especially with girls that are not even my girlfriend or like, let alone my wife. It's just like, you know, I made a video about this on YouTube about how Thai women or Thai girls, some of them clean for you and cook for you. Like all the comments were like, this is crazy. You're expecting the women to clean for you. You're
Yeah.
trying to control it. But I was like, no, she did it on her own.
But that's the thing is, this is, I think, hard for people in the West to understand. She's not doing it because you're like commanding her to start cleaning.
Exactly.
She's doing it as like a way of showing you her
It's an act
affection.
of love.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an act of affection. It's just like, wow, this guy probably works so hard. He's so good to me, so kind to me. I want to reward the favor. You know, it's just like, yeah, it's an act of affection. That's exactly what it is. But people in the West, like, you know, all my comments, they're completely spun the narrative as I'm like, I'm controlling her or I have these expectations of her. I'm like, it's completely not the case at all.
Yeah. So you mentioned a few things. You mentioned how you met some girls on dating apps, and there's a big, a lot of controversy about that. A lot of people online say, oh, you can't meet nice girls on dating apps. All they do, they want money. They want something like that. Honestly, have you ever had a situation where a girl tried to get money from you in some way?
On Tinder, no, not really directly. Not in the aspect of like oh, can you help me? My family needs taking care of, or my buffalo is sick, or like nothing like that, you know? It's more like, can we go to this fancy restaurant, or can we go to this fancy rooftop? You know, if like once maybe it's okay, but doing it all the time, that's kind of like, okay, there's a pattern here, you know, like you have very high maintenance or something, and like I'm gonna do all this stuff for you, for my girlfriend, but if we're still getting to know each other, it's like, let's just get a coffee, let's go get a drink, you know. I think that's one of the biggest maybe tips. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I asked you this because in the 5 years I've been here, I have had exactly one experience where a girl asked me for money, and she said it was 500 baht she wanted, like less than $15. And she said it was to pick up a package at the post office. But the thing is, I didn't know this girl that well, and I've been out with her like 2 or 3 times, and I could see this was a slippery slope. And so I just was like, nope, goodbye. Because she was lying. It was not, there's no package at the post office she's picking up for 500 baht. I think one of the ways to avoid a lot of these problems is just when you meet someone, when you first establish the relationship, you have certain boundaries that you just do not cross. And if you set those boundaries and you stick to them, you'll have no problems here.
Yeah.
But the problem is it starts slow and then it grows. And then all of a sudden you find yourself in a situation where, you know, you bought a house and now she's taking it with her, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy how many stories I've heard of like these foreigners and their Thai ex-wives have stolen everything. And I'm like, how did it even get to that point? You know, it's just like, yeah, I mean, kind of, you got to have some judgment, you know, you have to have a little bit of street smarts or something. Yeah, you got to be careful for sure.
I don't really think it's different than anywhere else in the world. I mean, if you allow yourself to be a victim, you'll be a victim. It's just that maybe some of those kinds of scams are different here than they would be in New York.
Yeah, maybe they're more persuasive here, like, you know, a lot more feminine, sweet or something. Yeah.
Date spots. You mentioned some like rooftops and stuff. If you were going on a first date with a girl, where would you go?
Definitely wouldn't ball out, you know, because what happens if I don't like this girl? Then I'm going to be a little resentful of like, damn, I'm splurging all on you and we're not even connecting that deep. And of course, I'm going to pay for this bill. There's no way you're going to pay for it. And I don't want you to pay for it. But it's like, yeah, just like the first date is a little test to get to know each other. So I think like 500 baht, 1,000 baht is pretty good budget, you know. I'd say if the date's going well, let's get some more drinks. Let's keep this thing going. But if the date's not really doing anything, just end it early. Yeah.
Have you ever had a situation, and I'm going to make a whole episode on this topic, I think. Have you ever had a situation where you met someone on Tinder and it was a ladyboy and you didn't know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, especially when I first came to Thailand. Oh, man, all the time. Yeah. Happened a lot.
But did you, like, because I had situations where I thought it was a girl and I met up and I immediately knew it was not a girl. Yep. Did that happen to you?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
So what did you do? What happened?
Yeah, so I try to be really polite about it, you know, like, so she'll come here and I'll be like, I'll take the photo of her Tinder profile picture, like, sorry.
You put it in her face and I'm like, yo, this ain't you.
Yeah, I'm like, sorry, you know, I didn't know that this was you or something, you know, like, I think miscommunication. I'm sorry, I'm not into Ladyboy, something like that. And then I'll just tell her to go.
Yeah, and how did they react when you did that?
I mean, I guess they'll be kind of sad, but it's just like, I think that's something you gotta tell, you know, you gotta say immediately, you know.
Oh, but they didn't like push you into an oncoming train or anything?
No, luckily not.
Okay, because sometimes, you know, they can be a little aggressive.
Has something happened like that to you?
No, well, okay. I want to save this for its own thing, but I'll give you one. It's just like, no, nothing bad really happened, but I would say maybe the first or second Tinder date I ever went on. And again, when you're new here, it's really hard for you to tell.
Oh yeah.
Now I know for sure.
They all look good.
And I'll give you the tips of how you know. I'll give you my pro tips, but I didn't know. I showed up and from 50 meters away, I knew this was not a girl. And I said, I'm thinking, what do I do? And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna play along. And so I met up and we got food at actually the Thai restaurant. I remember the name. It was on the corner in Prampong, and it was literally called Thai food good and cheap. And we're sitting there eating. I know I'm sitting across from a ladyboy. Everybody else in the restaurant, I'm thinking, what are they thinking? Do they know that I know? Like, and I was like, you know what? I don't care. I'm just going to eat my noodles, talk for 20 minutes. And then I was like, all right, nice meeting you. I got to go. And they were like, oh, you're not free. And I was like, no, I got to go home and get up early and, whatever. The funny part is right after that same night I went home, I got on my couch, fired up Tinder again. And that's the night I met my first Thai girlfriend.
Wow.
Yeah. But the way and I want to hear your advice on this, the way you can tell, I think, number one, if they list their height or if you see them, if they're taller than me, like I'm 174 centimeters, I'm like 5'7", 5'8". If they're taller than me, that's strike one. That's not everything.
It's not everything,
but that's strike one.
That's strike one.
If you're meeting them online and they don't post their Instagram, or you ask them for their Instagram and they don't want to give it and they say, oh, I don't have Instagram or whatever, that's strike two. And the reason Instagram is important is because you can go back in their photos and look back like 5 years and see what they look like, because it's really hard to look the same for 5 years or more. So that's number two. And number three, if you're meeting someone online, like on a dating app, and you're still not quite sure, if you want to give them a call, like 30 seconds, then you'll know for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
And because if they don't want to allow this call to happen, that's like big red flag. And the other thing I would say is, instead of meeting someone at a restaurant, like meeting them inside or something, meet at like a neutral point, like a BTS station, or like on the street. So if you show up to them and it's not what you expected, you can abort that mission.
Yeah, easily. Just have a friend call you or something.
But do you have like a go-to thing where now like, oh, okay, this is not a regular Thai girl?
Yeah, I think the longer you live in Thailand, your senses get more equipped. For me, it's like 100% their build. Like if they look quite muscular or like quite like built, like quite broad, 100%. The Adam's apple is always a giveaway.
See, I feel like those aren't reliable though, because they're so subjective.
But no, the Adam's apple, you cannot hide that.
Yeah. See, I feel like I always imagine it. I don't even know what a regular Adam's apple looks like. I don't. I could look at whatever girl and be like, I don't know. So.
Well, it's like the lack of an Adam's apple.
Okay.
Gives it away. The voice is definitely one. And then.
What about the way they dress? Have you noticed any difference?
Oh, what I was going to say is that if they have abnormally large boobs, yeah, I think that's a dead giveaway. Yeah.
Really? Yeah. See, I disagree, because depending on where you go, they can all have kind of the same plastic surgery.
Well, I think if they like look too good, as in like everything looks super sculpted, like their face, or they look extremely slender and they have like big boobs, like, and they're tall, I have a feeling like 50% chance or more that they're a ladyboy, and then maybe you'll talk to them and then you'll realize, okay, they're not a ladyboy, or they definitely are a ladyboy. Yeah.
Once you're here for a while, the best way to tell is not the way they look, it's the way they act. If assuming you're not meeting them on a dating app, like you're out in real life, because I noticed Thai girls are actually very conservative. They're very, I don't want to say shy, that's not quite really the right word, but they're more reserved. And I find that the ladyboys are more aggressive, more out there, more extroverted.
Yeah, it's because they still have some of their testosterone, and they still have some of they're more like horny, they want to just like, they're more straightforward. Like, okay, we meet at your condo.
That's the word, straightforward. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I got to do a whole episode. I've had a few situations like this. Luckily, I've never had any really bad situation. But like you said, like I've shown up someplace and I thought like, oh, this is not what I expected.
Yeah. Speaking of ladyboys, like this is perhaps my number one most negative comment that I get all the time. It's like, oh, you're only there for the ladyboys. And for me, it's like, why does everybody think straight men come to Thailand specifically to engage with trans women? I just don't understand that. Like, I guess maybe a lot of straight men are like in the closet, or they have like this kind of fetish for like girls with penises or something. Like, I don't really understand that. Like,
I don't know. This is also an enigma to me, because I'll be out and I'll see someone that is clearly a ladyboy, and I'll see a guy that I think he's a straight guy. And I'm thinking like, does he know? Does he not know? I mean, I don't care I don't care. There's no judgment.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering, does he know or does he not know? Or does he kind of know, but he doesn't want to admit it? Like,
Yeah, like
there's something going on there.
yeah, like I mean, I don't judge them at all. I mean, I think ladyboys are like they look super good. Like a lot of them are super beautiful, you know, look super feminine, and it's fine to be attracted to that. And if you're gay, it's whatever. But like, I don't understand like why they assume that me as a straight man has always been straight my whole life would come to Thailand and turn my sexual preferences.
I think I know why, because they run into a good amount of foreigners who are like hesitant and maybe are more open here and experiment with different things.
Maybe, or I think it's like the people who comment that are experimental themselves. Like they're very curious.
But that, I think it's a very small percentage of people.
So what do you think? I mean, why do people leave that comment like all the time?
I don't know. It's like if Thailand is famous for like a
Ladyboys
few
and stuff.
you know.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's just kind of funny. It's like the number one comment. It's like ladyboys, ladyboys. Yeah.
yeah, I just don't like how they a lot of times at night. Does this happen to you? Like they grab you?
Yeah.
I don't like that.
The few times I've ever been molested in my life, I've all been in Thailand. Just walking in the street, just having my junk grabbed. Yeah, I'm like, it's not. It doesn't feel nice. Like, yeah, you would expect like as a guy that never happens to you, and when it does happen to you, yeah, it doesn't feel good.
But I also want to say here, and I'm not trying to be like PC or anything. I'm really not. But for as many bad experiences that we may have with ladyboys, there are nice ladyboys too that are fine, that are normal people that are just trying to live their life and whatever. Like I go to a particular sports bar and there's always a ladyboy I play pool with. You know, she's really good at pool and whatever. No problems, totally fine. So, but in some of these like more nightlife areas, sometimes it's a little tricky.
Yeah, it just depends who you meet. Like, I think my perspective on like trans has really shifted from America to Thailand. Like in America, like trans and the whole LGBTQ, it can be quite controversial. As in, like if you look on the news, like Fox News, for example, they'll be talking about like trans women going to men's restrooms or competing in men's sports and stuff. So it's like a very divisive topic, and there's like a lot of like polarizing subjects on that matter. But here in Thailand, it's just like, no, everybody loves ladyboys. Like, and I have 100% respect for the whole entire community here. Whereas in America, it's like some of the community there, it's like super messed up. It's like they'll like try to do they'll try to tell this stuff to like little children at schools or like try to have it in their textbooks and stuff. Here in Thailand, I feel like they're doing it perfectly here in Thailand, where it's like they leave you alone and they're not trying to shove it down your throat, and everybody's free to be whoever they want and nobody judges you harshly.
Yeah, there's no political agenda.
Yeah, there's no agenda. It's just like, yeah, that's what I love about it here. It's like, and they're so proud of the fact that they're ladyboys. They're not hiding the fact. They're not like forcing their view down your throat. Like, I am a woman. Like, you better call me a she, her, or my pronouns. Like, pronouns don't even really exist.
I've found that, and this might not be everyone, but I found that if you ask a ladyboy, are you a girl? Most of them will say no, or some version of that. I am not a girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like in America, you'll see like some 6-foot huge man with like a beard, and he'll like actively say, I am a woman, with like such a deep voice. And I'm like, I don't know. It's a joke. It kind of seems like.
By the way, I'm going to strategically clip a bunch of what you just said to make you say, I love ladyboys. So we'll put that online later.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I'm kind of concerned about if I'm going to get canceled from like
no,
right
because
now.
this is the I think this is like the real
yeah, it's real. Like I'm talking real right now, and I don't know. I feel like if I were to ever get canceled, it'd probably be from this.
I feel like you have PTSD from living in New York. That's what I'm feeling.
Yeah, because everybody's on edge. Like you can't really say things like this, like especially clearly. You know, you have to dance around. Like, yeah.
If you were kind of advising someone moving to Thailand and they wanted to meet a nice Thai girl, and I say nice Thai girl, and sometimes people are confused. What I mean is someone that's not necessarily a freelancer, bar girl, something like that. Where would you suggest they go to meet someone like that?
Well, first off, not going to those bar girls and like those kind of red light districts, first off. And then I'd say probably not at bars and nightclubs, although you can find them there. I'd say go to like a cafe, or like go to a mall, go to a museum, go to like kind of quiet areas, and then maybe strike up a conversation.
Cafe.
Yeah.
So, okay, I agree with you, but a lot of people are going to say you can't talk to girls in a cafe. If you saw someone in a cafe, what would you say? How would you approach it?
I'd say, hey, I'm new here to Thailand. Do you know where this is? And then if they speak English, they'll tell me where it is, and then I'll be like, oh, by the way, you speak good English. Like, you don't have an accent. Like, yeah, where are you from? Like, oh, I just came to I just came to Thailand like a month ago. Like, do you know what's fun around here or something? And if she has good energy and receptive, then I'll ask for the Instagram, and then yeah, just go from there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the key takeaway there is, again, like Thai girls tend to be more reserved, I think. You can't go in and be like, oh,
You're so
hey
beautiful.
babe, you
Yeah.
wanna, you're so beautiful. Can I get your line? You know, whatever.
Yeah.
Just be friendly and then
Yeah.
see if there's a vibe and then go from there.
Yeah, just be super approachable, like very friendly, conversational, and then just kind of vibe off their energy. If they're not really that receptive or very kind of off put by you approaching them, then it's fine. You know, just leave them alone. And then, yeah, it's just about treating them like a human, being nice. Yeah.
Where do you like to go out for fun?
Nowadays, I like to go out in Thonglo or maybe Ekamai or maybe Rama 9 sometimes.
Are you like a cocktail bar person, a nightclub person?
It
Do you
depends on the night.
Fine dining? What's your thing?
If I'm trying to go hard, trying to go party, probably Thonglo. Yeah.
Okay. So Tonglo is known for having a lot of bars, restaurants, nightclubs. It's really a big entertainment zone, mostly among Haiso Thais. There's some foreigners there, but mostly Thais. And the culture there is like a lot different than other places in Sukhumvit. Where do you like to go there? Like give me like a few recommendations for someone that's visiting.
I like Terra. I like Mew Inn. It's like a new place. I like Dope and Dirty.
Dope and Dirty is the hip hop club.
Urban Music Bar is pretty good.
Also a hip hop club, right?
Yeah. And yeah, that's generally it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I agree with that. I haven't been to the Muin, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
I haven't been there yet, but
It's like a Space Plus kind of vibe.
yeah. But I think there's not necessarily like a bad or a good place to go. It's more just kind of what you like. Some people will like a place like that. I think some people will say this is not it for me. So tried a few different places.
Mm-hmm.
Much different than, let's say, the clubs and bars around Soy 11. Nah. Totally different.
Yeah, totally different vibe. But every now and then I like to go to those places too. Like it can be quite fun. Like it's definitely a different vibe. I feel like in Soy 11 you'll see a lot more foreigners, and then it might be more approachable to meet more people there, like to befriend more people there, because a lot of them speak more English, of course. Yeah, it just depends kind of what night you're looking for.
You know, I recently posted a clip on Instagram. I don't know if you saw this. There was a friend of mine here, a girl, and I said, if someone wants to meet someone like you, where should they go? And her exact answer is Tonglo, Ekamai, or maybe if you want someone that's better at speaking English, Soy 11. And people flipped out because she said Soy 11, because in their experience, maybe they only have met freelancers and kind of shiesty people there. And although there are those people on Soy 11,
Yeah, they are.
there are, believe it or not, guys, believe it or not, I swear I'm not lying to you, there are normal girls that go out to Soy 11 to places like Sugar, Havana Social, Pastel, even Levels. You know, some places more than others, but it's not even like where you are. It's being able to weed out, you know, who's who when you go to a given place.
So they got mad because they assumed that any girl in Soy 11 that's good at English is because they're a
Paul,
prostitute.
I posted that video, new account, 1.5 million views instantly.
Damn.
Yeah.
Because everybody got mad.
They got mad. She said Soy 11. I'm telling you guys, just keep an open mind. I wouldn't lie to you.
No, actually, I love going to Soy 11 nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every
Now
now and then.
you're gonna get all the hate. So and and also like some of the places you mentioned, you know, they can be quite expensive. So I get it. Like everybody's got different priorities and whatever. That's cool. But if you like it, that's cool. If I like someplace, that's cool. I just want to like give more options instead of people just go online and they see the same 3 places.
Yeah. And also, I think Roma 9 is a good spot too.
Oh, okay.
RCA,
Yep.
particularly Route 66 or Space Plus or Onyx. Yeah, I think they're pretty good.
Yeah, my friend really likes that area.
Mhm.
The thing with that area is it's very Asian focused.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
many Westerners.
Yeah,
A lot of
actually,
Koreans.
a
I
lot of
imagine you
Koreans, a
fit
lot of
in,
Chinese.
and then maybe they're disappointed when you're not like actually from Korea. I don't know.
I mean, I think it's more competition because a lot of those Korean dudes look super handsome.
Oh, they all look like models.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like they all came from the same. I don't know.
They look like they came out of a factory, like a K-pop
Yeah, that's what I was
factory.
gonna say. Yeah, they all look stunning, look good. And I think a lot of Thai girls go there because they like that too.
Yeah, and I've had many girls tell me exactly that.
Mm.
If you're an Asian guy, I don't know, check
Yeah.
out RCA. Although my friend's just a white dude, he likes it there. So
Probably stand out in a good way.
well, yes, but also like there's some girls that don't even look at us because they want the whatever tall, handsome Korean guy. So yeah. Okay, so we talked about girls, we talked about going out, entertainment. What's left? We got to talk about money. So you mentioned when you first came here, you didn't really have a plan, but a lot of people want to move over to Thailand and they want to maybe find a job here or maybe something online, some kind of work online. What would you suggest? Someone that wants to move to Thailand, like what is the best way they can approach making money?
So it's definitely got to be online, first of all. I think there's a lot of different ways you can make money online. For me, all the ways I've made money online are Airbnb, e-commerce, YouTube, content creation, mentorships, consultation calls, digital products, digital services.
Do you think it's possible for a foreigner to get a job at like a corporate job in Thailand? Have you ever seen that?
It's kind of rare, but I mean, it does happen. Like, for example, like news agencies or like media companies or real estate or insurance companies, etc. Like these big companies, yeah, they have foreigners there, and like they actually like hiring foreigners. I know like a lot of Thai companies like hiring foreigner models, for example. Yeah, I mean, there definitely is an avenue, and if you don't want to go that corporate route, you could always be a Thai teacher. You know, you're not going to be balling, you're not going to live this like lavish lifestyle, but it's a way to actually come here and don't ever have to worry about visas and make some, decent money. But I think the best advantage is like taking your Western earned salary, saving it, investing it into yourself, and investing it into some sort of asset, like making money online. What I teach nowadays is I teach people how to make content and how to make a personal brand and monetize. Like, I've only had a personal brand for maybe like less than a year, and I'm already crossing like around 15K in net profit a month. And I don't even have like,
Is that bot?
no, it's
Or
USD.
dollars?
USD, yeah.
Wow, that's a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
you only have your YouTube channel is how old? Less than a year?
It's around a year, yeah.
You only have, I think, 35 videos, something like that.
35 videos, 30,000 subscribers. I make most of my money on Instagram though. So I have about almost 100,000 on there.
Yeah, I mean, about foreigners coming here to find a job, I get why they think along those lines, but from my experience, it's really rare to be able to, for a foreigner, Western foreigner, to be able to find a job with a salary that's like within what they would probably want, because the competition is, the market is just different. I think what you're saying is a much better route, like doing some sort of online, whether it's e-commerce or digital marketing or building a personal brand, like so many different ways to make money online.
Yeah.
And the benefit of that too is if you can live in Thailand, but make US dollars or euros or whatever, you have to do like your bar of success is so much lower. If you're living in New York, you'd have to make so much more to keep up.
Yeah.
But living here is an advantage if you have an online business.
Yeah, especially if you have an existing business in America or Europe or wherever, and it's already doing quite well, like you could reduce your expenses by like 50% just by relocating here.
Yeah. If I could go back, because I didn't come to Thailand until I was like 28, I would graduate university. I would work whatever job in the US and save as much as I could. And I would try to get something online going. And then I would move to Thailand. And with all that extra margin that I'm saving, I would just be investing it. And that's life changing. If you do that when you're in your early to mid 20s, by the time you're 60, that's life changing money.
Yeah, it's a shortcut, because you don't have to deal with like the high taxation or the high costs of America or where else. Yeah.
When people talk to you and they say, I'm thinking about moving to Thailand or to Asia, I want to live and work there, What are their questions normally? Like, what are they struggling with?
I guess my most common question is like, how do I make money online? And then how do I live in Thailand long term? So I could briefly address those.
Sure. Let's do the living in Thailand long term first.
Okay. So Thailand has a multitude of different visas. The first one I recommend for most foreigners is Thai education visa. Thai education visa allows you to stay from 12 to 15 months, and you can also renew it. So it's essentially a way for you to actually learn Thai. You know, for example, me, I learn Thai classes twice a week for 2 hours each, and I have to do that every single week for around a year, and then I can renew it. So it costs me about 2,000 USD a year to have that visa, but you know, it's also beneficial because I can learn some Thai and then stay here in Thailand, not have to worry about it. The second one is if you actually have a lot of money, it's getting the elite visa, or in other words, the privilege visa, the Thailand privilege visa, that allows you to stay from anywhere from 5 to, I believe, 20 years. And it costs roughly 30,000 USD. So that's a lot of money up front. Yeah, but you don't have to worry.
The problem with the elite visa now, though, is they recently increased the price.
Yeah.
When I first got here, it cost 500,000 baht for 5 years. And then it was another 500 or 600,000 to extend it to 20 years. So basically, for around $1 million baht, so let's just say around 30,000 US dollars,
Yep.
you could be here in Thailand for 20 years,
Which is insane.
which
yeah.
is a great value.
Yeah.
The problem with it, though, is it's a big commitment, because if you don't know that you want to stay in Thailand long term, it's hard to make that, because you're not going to get money back if you decide to change after a year or two. The other downside of it is if you eventually want to have a business or have a company or work in Thailand, you can't get work authorization with an elite visa. So if you get halfway through it and you're like, oh, I want to change, well, you just wasted the rest of your money.
Yeah.
So I think the education visa can be a good idea, both because you learn Thai, which helps you living in Thailand, and it's somewhat more flexible in that you do it for a year and then, you know, you see what happens after that.
Yeah, and the last one is a tourist visa, where you just come here, stay for 60 days or 90 days, I believe, and then you just do border runs. And then I've heard people do this actually indefinitely. Like they leave Thailand for 2 days, come right back, and then just do that process over and over again.
Yeah, that's definitely how it was in the past, for sure.
It's a lot more complicated.
Now things are much stricter, I think. And, you know, just simple things like if you leave for 2 days and you go to Cambodia and you come back, I think you're going to have problems. Maybe not the first time, but, you know, sooner or later, you're going to have problems. If you come to Thailand, you stay your 3 months, you go somewhere else for a few weeks, you go to Vietnam, then you come back, you know, it's not like you're so obvious, I'm just trying to be in Thailand 100% of the year.
Yeah.
I think you'll have an easier time. But the visa thing is so complicated because it changes constantly.
Yep.
And that's why I honestly think if you're not sure about the visa situation, you're not sure what you should do, the best thing you can do is just pay whatever fee to talk to someone, maybe like you, that knows what's going on the ground, like in Thailand. Because what worked a year ago might not work now. What works now might not work in 6 months. So you really need to talk to someone that's kind of in it and understands what's happening.
Yeah, I agree. Like even if I Google Thailand visas right now, the articles, like they're all outdated and they're all like extremely convoluted, and just like it's there's no direct like recommendation or exactly what to do. But to anybody watching this, I wouldn't stress too much about like what's your long-term visa gonna be. I would just come here and see how it is, stay here for a month or two, and leave, and then perhaps come again, and then figure it out. You know, like when you come here in Thailand, you'll meet people who've already figured it out.
Yeah.
You know, you'll get that advice and intel from them.
And I even think before the education visa, they could come on a tourist visa, even do 2 tourist visas and see, do I want to stay here for a year? And then make that decision. Okay, so that's the visa thing. Now about making money. This is such a big thing, I think, in the digital nomad, expat, people that want to leave the US. Everyone's trying to get out now, like the house is on fire.
Yeah.
I've heard I have some European friends that have kind of expressed a similar thing about Europe. I'm not as familiar about the politics in Europe or what's going on, but hey, maybe it's a similar situation. But for those people that are looking to leave the West and want to come over here to Asia, what do you think are the best ways to get going making money online or whichever way?
I think content creation or personal brand is always going to be around. I think doing some real estate work in your home country and then having those residual like monthly income to kind of cover your expenses.
You mean like buying property?
Buying property or doing rental properties like Airbnb in America or wherever. E-commerce is a good one. That's what I did from 2018 to like 2022. Any kind of digital services or digital products, I think it has low costs and a relatively low barrier to entry. You could do a social media marketing agency. And then also if you have skills, you don't necessarily even have to have a business. You could just be a freelancer or like a consultant and work as a contractor, like on freelancer.com, or just have a couple clients a month and you could make a good income, like you'd be surprised by how much money you can make just by DMing people on Instagram and offering your services. Like for example, the other day somebody reached out to do my thumbnails for YouTube, and if I were to hire him, that's a very good income for him. Like, and then if he were to have like 5 clients, he doesn't need to have a 9-to-5 job anymore, So it's just like about being creative, and then you don't have to like necessarily be like the CEO type of like create a huge business and stuff, because I know that's not it for everybody. But just figure out how you can produce some value for a handful amount of people, get them to pay you a couple $100 or $1,000 a month in value, and that's it. It's like there's so many different ways you can make money online, especially if you're a Westerner. You have so much privilege because you have a Western salary. You have the ability to like put that money into a business or into yourself. So I think you just have to be creative and figure it out. There's no easy answer. It's just like,
yeah. Well, you hit on some good points, because I think a lot of people get caught in the mindset like, I've got to apply for a job and get hired somewhere. And I would say almost everybody I know here, any friends that I have here that are foreigners, they have their own business in some way. Maybe it's not a big business. Maybe it's just like what you said. They offer some service, and you're right. Like it really could be as simple as like, hey, I learned how to do this one thing, and now I'm going to contact 100 people and try to get a handful of clients, because you really only you don't need to make 100,000 US a year to have a good life in Thailand.
Exactly.
Maybe you do in New York City. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I got this question recently in our Facebook group, like, what do people I know, the people that I personally know, what kinds of jobs do they do? It's like marketing agency, real estate investment, and they have income from that. Personal brand, YouTube, that kind of thing.
Crypto is another big one.
Yeah, but I would also say when it comes to, I get this, do you get this? Like people will comment like, oh, these YouTube people, these Instagram people, when this dries up, they're going to be done for, something like that. And I would say every single person I personally know that does some kind of social media thing also is doing something else. Like maybe you don't hear about it. Maybe like me, I don't make any money from this. From this, I make nothing. I have another business. So I think it's also good to have, if you can even have multiple streams of income and diversify a little, that's good. I also think people get stuck in a way of thinking because of where they come from. But when you come here, you meet so many people like yourself. There's a lot of entrepreneurs here, a lot of people that have already done what you're trying to do. So if you kind of network a little, reach out to people, I think you'll learn a lot.
Exactly. Yeah. Like the people you meet here, they've already kind of figured it out, because I mean, it's very unlikely for a foreigner that's in their young ages to have figured it out and to have moved all the way across the entire world to here in Thailand by themselves, so they obviously figured something out. And when you come here, you'll network with them, you'll figure out what they did and just kind of learn from them. There's a huge community of entrepreneurs here, of highly skilled, high net worth people here. And you can just really make some good relationships and connections here.
So you've been here for how long now?
Been here for 3 years.
3 years. Do you see yourself staying here long term?
Yeah, I think so now, because I have a girlfriend here and it's a pretty serious relationship. I have a dog here as well. I do my business here. I have content here. I have all my friends here, and I can't ever figure myself going out to like America, going back to America. I don't know why I would go back there. If anything, I'd be like a digital nomad, traveling around Asia, but I don't think I'd want to base myself anywhere else.
Okay, cool. Where can people find you online?
Find me as I'm Paul Lee on Instagram, on YouTube, TikTok. You'll find me there. If you guys want to connect, you can join my Discord.
Okay, yeah, and I'll put that link down below. Paul, thanks for coming out.
Yeah, man.
And chatting. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more about living in Thailand, hit the subscribe button. If you have any questions, if you want to know where to go, what to do, how to get an apartment, how to open a bank account, how to avoid ladyboys on Soy 11, join the private Facebook group down below. Check out the Instagram. I just started it, but it's growing at an incredible pace. And if you guys want to listen to the audio only while you're working, you're driving, check it out on Apple and Spotify. Thank you again, and we will see you in the next video.
Peace out.